So today we're going to look at what is known as factoring. But before we get into factoring and I try to start explaining what all it means and all of that, I'd like you to just work on multiplying or foiling these two problems, please. All right, now that you've had a chance to FOIL them, let's go over the answers, remembering that FOIL means first out or in or last. So x times x is x squared plus 6x plus negative 4x plus negative 24. When I multiply my two last terms together, the middle two are always like terms. We add them together. So x squared plus 2x plus negative 24. Number 2, we have 2y squared plus 3y plus 10y plus 15. That is going to give me 2y squared plus 13y plus 15 when I combine my two middle-like terms together. So now that we have the warm-up done, basically what factoring is going to do is I'm going to give you the trinomial, and we're going to work it backwards into the two binomials. So basically we are undoing factoring is what we're working on. So as I just mentioned on the last slide, we're going to be looking at undoing factoring. And the method we're going to be using is this method known as the diamond method. And we've actually done some of these diamonds already this year as part of our warm-up. So hopefully there isn't a whole lot brand new for you. But we will play it out and see how it goes. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm breaking this out into steps. So it's going to look really choppy at first, but I want you to bear with me because I promise it's not going to be that bad once we get to the end. And up here where it says steps, that should be an x squared. So the first thing we always want to look at, 1, change your subtraction to plus the opposite, and 2, if there's a GCF, if there is something in common between all three pieces, we do want to pull that GCF out. By pulling that GCF out, 1, it's making our numbers a lot smaller, and 2, if we're able to GCF out some exponents, we have smaller exponents to deal with as well. But in this particular problem here, we do not have any GCF. So step 1, check. So I need to rewrite my problem again because it left my screen. So x squared plus 11x plus 18. Okay. So now we're going to put the pieces in what is known as a diamond, the diamond problems. Okay. I can't draw diamonds well, so I make an X. But you need the 4 spots on the side. So spot, 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 and spot. So the top of your diamond is always going to be the first term, which is known as A, and the last term, which is known as C, multiplied together. So 18 and 1 gives me 18. Middle piece always goes on the bottom, which is 11. So that's all this step says. Multiply the first and last term, the numbers with the first and last term. We're not doing anything with variables yet. And the middle term goes on the bottom. So now we're going to solve it. So we had 18 on the top, we had 11 on the bottom. I need two numbers that multiply to give me 18, that when I add them together I get 11. And those two numbers happen to be 9 and 2. Does not matter which side you put the 9 and the 2 on. And the M and the M in the diamond are just representing that they're different numbers. So now we need to pull it out of the diamond. So my original problem was x squared plus 11x plus 18. I had my diamond, which was 18, 11, 9, and 2. There's a very specific way you pull the pieces out of the diamond. Okay. So the first part of the original problem, the left-hand side of the diamond, the right-hand side of the diamond, and the last piece in the original problem. So this is going to be written as 1x squared plus 9x plus 2x plus 18. Okay, so I've written out as 4 big pieces at this point. So I have x squared plus 9x plus 2x plus 18. We're going to match up like terms. So just like we talked about yesterday, we're now going to match up the pieces, and you're looking when you match to be able to GCF something out. Typically, you can almost always match the first two and the last two terms, but you do want to make sure that you can pull something out. So in the first term, I can pull out an x, leaving me with x plus 9. In my last two terms, I can pull out a 2, leaving me with x plus 9. If the two pieces in parentheses match, then you know that you've done it correctly. Your final answer becomes the two pieces outside the parenthesis and then the matching piece inside. We need to check by foiling just to make sure we haven't missed any of the steps. So x squared plus 2x plus 9x plus 18. And you should see that that matches what we got when we pulled it out of the diamond. But just to finish it off, 9 plus 2 is 11, 18, and it checks. Now again, I know this was very choppy because each step had its own slide and we were kind of discussing each step. Now we're going to look at one that is start to finish, put together as one total problem. So hopefully you'll see the flow of it a little better and it won't look so choppy. So first thing I'm going to do, look for that GCF. There is no GCF that I can pull out. I'm going to make my diamond. My first term is 1. My last term is 2, so 2 goes on the top. The middle term always goes on the bottom, so the 3 goes down there. I need two numbers that multiply to 2, that when I add them I get 3, so that would be 2 and 1. Pulling out of the diamond, first from the original, left-hand side of the diamond, right-hand side of the diamond, and last piece from the original problem. It kind of makes like a box. So x squared plus 2x plus 1x plus 2. First two pieces, I can GCF out an x. Last two pieces, I have nothing that will actually GCF out. There's nothing in common, so I put a 1. And you'll notice that even with that 1, my two pieces that are left in the parentheses match, and that's what I'm looking for. So you might not always have to GCF something out of both of them, but you definitely want to make sure that those two parentheses match at the end. So we have x plus 1 for the first parenthesis, x plus 2 for the second. We need to check it by foiling, so x squared plus 1x plus 2x plus 2 will give me x squared plus 3x plus 2. That's what I started with. So that's how you'd work a whole problem start to finish. So you can go ahead and try this one on your own. If you'd like to kind of stay with me and watch me walk through it one more time, you are certainly more than welcome to do that. So there's nothing to GCF out. 10 times 1 gives me 10 on the top, 7 on the bottom. 5 and 2 multiply to give me 10, but add to get me 7. Pulling them out, a squared plus 5a plus 7a. Oh, scratch that, 2a. Yep. 2a plus 10. First two pieces I can pull an a out, leaving me with a plus 5. And then in the second parenthesis I can pull out a 2, which will leave me with a plus 5. My two parentheses match, so the two outside pieces, so a plus 2 and a plus 5. Checking by foiling, I have a squared plus 2a plus 5a plus 10. Middle two terms add together and get a squared plus 7a plus 10. That matches what I started with, so my answer will in fact check. So go ahead, try these two on your own if you haven't done any of those before. And then we will go over the answers together. So for the first one, you should have ended up with t plus 7 and t plus 2. And for the last one, I have x plus 6 and x plus 2. And if you have them in the opposite order, if you have x plus 2 and then x plus 6, it really and truly makes no difference. You just want to make sure we have both of the same parentheses, even if they are in an opposite order. So same process, our process isn't going to change. All we're going to do now is start bringing some negatives in. But again, the overall process stays the same. So 8 times 1 gives me 8 on the top, negative 6 goes on the bottom. Two numbers that multiply and I get positive 8, that when I add them, I would end up with a negative 6 by adding. So that would be negative 4 and negative 2. I'm going to switch my n's to x's. I just like x's better. But we're going to pull out of the diamond in the same order. So x squared plus negative 4x plus negative 2x plus 8. First two pieces, I can pull an x out, leaving me with x plus negative 4. Last two pieces. Now watch yourself here, because I know I need to end up with an x plus negative 4. I need negative 4 at the end, and right now I have an 8. So I'm actually going to GCF out a negative 2. And by doing that, 8 divided by negative 2 will give me that negative 4 I need at the end. If you get to this point and your two parentheses don't match because of a sign, look at one of the parentheses and pull a negative out. And usually that will make them match. So x plus negative 2 for the first one, x plus negative 4 for my second one. Checking by foiling, x squared plus negative 2x plus negative 4x plus 8, x squared plus negative 6x plus 8. That's what I started with, so it does in fact check. I have 4 of these, it looks like, for you to try. So now that you've had a chance to try them, for the first one, I have x plus negative 1, and I have x plus negative 3. For B, I have x plus negative 3 and x plus negative 2. For number 3, I have x plus negative 6, and I have x plus negative 2. And for the last one, I have x plus negative 8 and x plus negative 2. Again, you'll notice that I did change my variables there. I just traditionally like the x a little bit better. So for the first half of this lesson, we're at the end of it, so you will need to complete your homework, which should just be a worksheet. If you have any questions on it, as always, please let me know. Hopefully you either have the worksheet in front of you or you can find it online. So now we're back for part 2 of the lesson, starting with our traditional warm-up again. You are just factoring these just like we did yesterday using that diamond method. Go ahead and try these 3 and then we'll go over them. So I'm going to work the first one out in its entirety just to kind of refresh your memory. So 3 times 1 gives me 3 on the top, 4 goes in the bottom, the middle term. 2 numbers that multiply to get me 3 that when I add them I get 4 are 3 and 1. Pulling it out of the diamond, x squared plus 3x plus 1x plus 3. I can pull an x out of the first 2 terms, giving me x plus 3. A 1 pulls out of the second pair, also leaving me with x plus 3. Final answer, x plus 1 and x plus 3. At this point, we would check by foiling. If you need to see that, please come up and ask me individually. I'm more than happy to help you. But just remember you're doing that first, outer, inner, last. Second one, using the same method, you should have gotten n plus negative 7 and n plus negative 2. And b plus negative 9. And b plus negative 8. So today we're continuing the same process as yesterday. We are literally just moving the negative around. Okay, so now the negative is with that c term instead of the b term. So it's going to be a negative 15 on the top, 2 on the bottom. That's going to be a 5 and a negative 3 to multiply for negative 15 but add to get positive 2. So y squared plus 5y plus negative 3y plus negative 15. The first 2 I can pull a y out, leaving me with y plus 5. Second one, I am going to make sure I pull the negative out because I want what's left in the parentheses to be positive. So I'm going to pull a negative 3 out, which leaves me with y plus 5. Pieces inside and the pieces outside give me my final answer. Checking by foiling, y squared plus 5y plus negative 3y plus negative 15, y squared plus 2y plus negative 15. So it does in fact check. 4 of these for you to try. They're following that exact same process we've been using, that diamond method. Nothing's changing other than you need to be a little bit more aware of a negative. So now that you've had a chance to try these, the first one should be m plus 5 and m minus 4. Number 2 should be w plus 8 and w plus negative 2. The third one is y plus 5 and y plus negative 2. And the last one is x plus 12 and x plus negative 6. If you have questions on where I got any of those answers, as always, please, please, please come let me know. So the whole point of this factoring is to be able to solve polynomial equations. Okay? So if you remember back to before the last quiz, we had a whole section on solving polynomial equations. We broke it into 2 parts, solve for 0, all of that. We're going to do the same thing here. But the first thing you always have to do with a polynomial equation is make sure that it is set equal to 0. So this problem is going to be rewritten so that it's plus negative 18 equaling 0. At this point, I would break out my diamond, negative 18 on the top, 3 on the bottom. This would be a positive 6 and a negative 3, because I want that 3 in the bottom to be positive. Pulling it out, I end up with x squared plus 6x plus negative 3x plus negative 18, still equaling 0. Just keep bringing that 0 down with you. GCFing out an x, and I get x plus 6. Pulling out a negative 3, and I again get x plus 6, equaling 0. X plus negative 3, and x plus 6 equals 0. This splits into 2 problems. X plus negative 3 equals 0. So x equals positive 3, and I move that negative 3 to the other side. And x plus 6 equaling 0. X equals negative 6 when I move it to the other side. Now we have to check these. You have to check both of them. You have to check them in the original problem. So 3 squared plus 3 times 3 needs to give me 18. 9 plus 9 needs to give me 18. 18 gives me 18. I got one of them to check. Now I have to check negative 6. So, I was trying to write a 6. Negative 6 squared plus 3 times negative 6 needs to equal positive 18. Negative 6 squared is positive 36 plus negative 18 needs to equal positive 18. Positive 18 will in fact equal positive 18, and my answer does in fact check. Please try these 4 solving equation ones on your own. So when I went through and solved this for the first one, I got s equaling 6 or negative 4. Again, that 6 and negative 4 are not in parentheses, so they are not considered an ordered pair, but you can in fact split them with a comma. Number 2, I have 7 and negative 4. 3, I have 7 and 3. And for the last one, I have negative 10 and 5. If you tried those and those are not the answers you got, or you tried them and those answers didn't check, please come seek me out. This lesson kind of branches into where we're going next. It's one of those foundational building blocks that you really, really need. So please make sure that you're understanding this, and if you're not, please come for help. Homework tonight, like always, a worksheet. If you don't have it in front of you, you should be able to find it online or from the team calendar. If you ever have any questions, concerns, comments, noticed I messed up somewhere in the video, as always, please feel free to come let me know. I am always more than happy and willing to work with you.